Honestly, I'm trying to stay focused.
Babaluaye Awon, or I'm a priestess, I am a healer, and I'm also a medium. So for those who don't understand what the word medium means other than clothes, in case you kind of tight, a medium is somebody who has the ability, the born ability, to communicate with spirits or energy in other dimensions. So basically that's what that means for you, or spirit. Okay? Today's class I'm honored and thankful for the Alori Yomi for inviting me out to teach the class. I am the owner of the company Do the Healing Work, and what that company is centered around is providing tools for healing for melanated people, all melanated people of all shades, melanated people of all genders, but specifically Black women. But everybody come get your healing. So if you ever want to reach me after the class, you all can reach me on Instagram, Do the Healing Work, on Facebook, Do the Healing Work, at Gmail, Do the Healing Work. My website is dothehealingwork.com. That's me. All right, great. So today's class we're going to be talking about how healing aligns to purpose. And a lot of times when people sit with me, one of the very first things that they say is, how do I find my purpose? How do I align to my purpose? Or, what is my purpose? Well, very often, what they're referring to is what they want to do with their life, but that is not necessarily the same thing as your purpose, right? So let's take a second by really just starting to look at what exactly is purpose. What is purpose? Y'all know? No?
What you are called here to do?
Yeah, very good. Purpose is the reason, or Webster's definition, purpose is the reason for which something is done or created, or for which something exists. So the reason that we come here, to this realm, to do, what did we come here to do? What is our purpose? So that in and of itself indicates that what you do vocationally, meaning what you do to earn the bag, may not necessarily be your purpose. So how do we figure out our purpose? How do we know exactly what it is? We all know that we need to make money in order to survive. Yes? That's a given. Unless you were born with a trust fund, in which case, equity. But I don't think many of us in here were, right? So a purpose can also allude to somebody's resolve, what they intend to do, what they are determined to do, right? Purpose can also mean done intentionally. So we put all of that together. It alludes to what you come here to do, but in order to be able to do it, you have to live intentionally. Everything that must be done intentionally. So what does that have to do with healing? Well, what is healing? Healing is the process of restoring health from imbalance, disease, or organism of some type, right? So how do we get out of purpose? How are we unable to identify our purpose? Because typically when we're kids, we know exactly what we want to do, right? What did you want to be when you were a kid? Yes, you did a bit. You want to be a veterinarian? Why? Okay, very good. What do you want to be when you grew up?
I just want to be on TV.
On TV, why?
Because I was always like on stage at the time.
Okay. What do you want to be when you grew up?
I got into college.
Why?
Because I like babies. So I felt that was the only way for me to get closer to babies.
Sure. Okay. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Me, I wanted to be a police officer.
Why?
Because I like guns.
Almost.
No, all Babaluaye.
They also like those as well. Y'all know Babaluaye, sorry. We love you guys. What did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a lawyer.
A what?
A lawyer.
A lawyer, why?
I wanted to help people get out of the system.
Very good. Very good. And so what is it that you do now? How does that allude to your purpose? You wanted to be a veterinarian because you like animals. But why specifically?
I guess just experiencing like, well, my dog got hit by a car, and I just wanted to, like, seeing the vet do what she had to do. I wanted to do the same thing. I just wanted to get better, so I want to do the same thing for the dogs.
Very good. You like to perform, right? Okay. Why?
I like public speaking. I like being on stage, and I like for others to feel me. Yeah.
You like to shine.
Yeah.
So you like to provide representation.
Yes.
Very good. You wanted to help people. Why did you want to do what you want to do?
Me, when I was an officer, trying to, why did I want to?
Yeah, because I know you like guns.
Yeah, because
But what else?
And also protect and stuff like that. Protect and have a team with me at the time when I was young.
Okay.
Changed my mind on all that though, you know.
Well, I think that when we are coming up, right, the one thing that I'm hearing from everybody who named what they wanted to do was in some way or form, it was a way to help people. So it's never, see the thing that people don't understand about purpose is that the purpose is not the job. The purpose is the why.
I see.
The why was helping people. The why was representation. The why was healing. The why was removing people from the system. All of that is a service purpose. So when people say, what is my purpose? It's not the vehicle in which you use to get there. It is the why you do what you do that is the purpose. Are y'all following me? I got all these notes and it's throwing me off and I don't got time for shit. So that's what the purpose is. So what happens when you have a life experience that becomes so traumatic that you're unable to even identify what your purpose is? What happens then? Because most of the things that we experience, when we say the word trauma, when healers say the word trauma, I think that most people think that we're talking about huge things like sexual abuse, like being kidnapped, like being physically abused, like being mentally abused. Like those things are all, of course, traumatic. What about being raised in a system of poverty? Is that not trauma? Absolutely it is, because it teaches you what is not possible. What about being raised in a household where your spiritual gifts are called demonic? Or at worst, or impossible at best? What does that teach a child that can see spirits or hear spirits? What does that teach them? That it's impossible and that something is inherently wrong with them. Yes? Is that not trauma? What about the child that is criticized for everything that they do? Stop that. Put that down. What are you doing? Stop that. Put that down. What do we think that that does to a child? It makes them anxious and it makes them overcritical of themselves. Yes? So then when they begin to think of the things that they want to do, does that not derail it? When you are raised in a poverty environment, does that not affect the way that you think of things? So do you think that a child that is raised with a trust fund has the same outlook on life as the child that is not? Right? What about the young woman that has her heart broken early? Do you think that her outlook on love or the world, or most importantly herself, is the same as somebody who has not had that experience? What about the young man who was taught that it is not okay to cry? It is not okay to feel emotion. That crying makes you weak. That hugging other men make you gay. Is that not trauma? Anything that has a severe impact on the way that you look at yourself in the world is traumatic, right? So how do we align to our purpose when the very way that we view the world is skewed by the experiences that we have that were not so favorable? Who do you think you could be if you were never taught that there were limits? Take a moment and think about that. That if you were taught that helping people could bring an income that would allow you to move forward in life, would you still have become a veterinarian? If you weren't taught that it was wrong to snitch and that police officers were inherently bad, would you have still become a police officer? If you were taught that you can get through the legal system and go to school without all of this debt, would you have still been a lawyer? Or are we stunted by what we are told that we cannot do? So then how much time do we spend trying to clean that up? And then when we talk about healing, then the first question becomes, how? Well, in order to truly heal, you have to know what your core belief systems are. We develop our core belief systems really as children. The first thing is how you identify. We are taught very early on, you're a girl, you're a boy. You're a girl, you're a boy. You're a girl, you're a boy, you're a girl, you're a boy. Girls cry, boys don't. Right? Boys build, girls don't. Right? Girls take pink, boys take blue. Very early on, we are indoctrinated with who we are supposed to be. Okay? Let's think about when we get a little bit older. How many times, and you ain't got to raise your hand if you don't want to, have you heard jit at? Y'all don't say jit here in LA? Oh, that child is bad. Pardon. Yeah? You've never heard anybody call a kid bad? How many of us have been called bad? I know I have. No? You never been called bad? Okay, ladies. How many times have we been called fast? Sit your fast ass down. Running behind these boys. Sit down. Where you going in that skirt? No? Yeah. Okay. You know your booty big. Yeah. Put on something longer. Yeah. Okay. You talk too damn much. Be quiet. Stay in the child's place. Children are to be seen and not heard. Young men, how many times have you been told? Stop all that goddamn crying. Boys don't cry. You soft. No? You've never been told that? You've never heard that? That's foreign to y'all? Put that damn doll down. Boys don't play with dolls. Take your ass outside and play football and basketball is something that boys do. No? Y'all never heard that? Just me? Okay. Who taught the young men in our community to express emotion? And before you all got here, and when I say here, I'm referring to your spiritual journey, what space did you all ever have to explore and learn to process your emotions? Anywhere? Ladies, when we cried, we were allowed to cry. Were y'all allowed to cry? Yeah. What we couldn't express was anger. Fix your goddamn face. Why you got a attitude? We were allowed to express sadness, but never anger, never aggression. How do we learn how to process emotion if we are not allowed to outwardly express them? How does a child or a teenager become an adult that can safely and responsibly process and express emotion if they've never had any practice in doing so? When we are taught to get over it, when we are taught to overlook it, when we are taught to push through it, thug it out. Thug it out. Those things are trauma. They are. What we couldn't express was anger. Fix your goddamn face. Why you got a attitude? We were allowed to express sadness, but never anger, never aggression. How do we learn how to process emotion if we are not allowed to outwardly express them? How does a child or a teenager become an adult that can safely and responsibly process and express emotion if they've never had any practice in doing so? When we are taught to get over it, when we are taught to overlook it, when we are taught to push through it, thug it out. Thug it out. Those things are trauma. They are. How many of us, and please don't raise your hand, I'm not even going to look up at the thing. How many of us know we have an uncle that's creepy as hell, and he's still allowed to come to Thanksgiving and Christmas and frickin' Valentine's? Why haven't you been? I promise you it's coming. So now, the first thing is, in order to help to heal whatever it is that you are facing, the very first thing that you have to do is identify what it is that you're facing. You will never be able to heal anything running from it. It just doesn't work that way. That's why when we talk about spirituality, one of the things that we include in that is shadow work. It is incredibly important. There's a Yoruba proverb that says, if you do not know yourself, you will meet yourself in the streets. What does that mean? Let's take a stab at it. If you do not know yourself, you will meet yourself in the street. What does that mean? If you have not taken the time to understand who you are, your triggers, your flaws, your strengths, your talents, your weaknesses, then you will constantly be in a position where you are fighting yourself through other people. Constantly. Why? Because although opposites attract, and the purpose of humans, so do likeness. Why? Because the universe knows, the Orisha knows, your ancestors know, the things that you need to still work through. So what happens? When you have a core belief, which is formed by who you've been told you are, who you believed you are, your experiences that either co-sign or help you to discreate those beliefs, right? And then your trauma. Those are the three things that form your core belief. So who you are, your experiences, and trauma, right? Here's how it works. So, if you met me and you said, oh, hi, now, fuck you looking at? You would be like, that lady is a bitch. Damn. And then I spoke to you in a Jamaican accent. If you had never met any other people that were Jamaican, you might say to yourself, damn, Jamaican women are mean as hell, right? That's an experience. That is the shaping of a belief, right? But then you go out into the world, and maybe 5 years later, you already are on guard against Jamaican women. And you come across somebody else, and she is mean as well. And you say, see, Jamaican women are mean as hell. I don't mess with Jamaican women because them is mean, right? So now you have a belief there. Now you have a belief there. So every time you come across a Jamaican woman, you already feeling some type of way. Before they could even say hello, you're feeling some type of way, right? Maybe you did not know that maybe at the time that you met me, I had just lost my job, just crashed my car, and had a terrible breakup. And you just met me on a terrible day. Then you see the next one, and you didn't realize that you already had an attitude because your belief was Jamaican women are mean. right? So you was like, hey, and she was like, hey. Because we all act from our place of what it is that we believe. Let's make it simpler. We're little kids, and you see a dog and you go to pet it and the dog bites you. Right? Now, in your mind, dogs are bad. Dogs bite, dogs hurt you. So then the next time you see a dog, what the hell do? You take off running. Well, that dog is going to start chasing you because you took off running. Maybe it's a puppy. Maybe it wants to play. Right? But in your mind, now you're being attacked by this dog who just wants to play. That is the way in which we operate in the world. Once we have a belief, we move from that place of beliefs. Right? In our mind, all dogs are bad and they bite you. No, that dog bit you. Not every dog in the world is trying to bite you. But because it's so ingrained in us, we oftentimes don't realize that our beliefs are just our beliefs. That does not make them facts. However, now, every time you're going to come across a situation that is going to challenge that belief, you have two options. It's either going to concrete that belief or give you the opportunity to discreate it. Meaning this, when we look at a situation, we can view it through the lenses of our trauma, or we can view it through the lenses of how we want to create the world to be. Yes? Do we understand what I'm saying with that? Every day we have an opportunity to look at each situation through a lens of trauma or a lens of creating the situation into how we want it to be. Why? We're melanated people. We are creators, period. So, when you first bumped into me and I was like, what you looking at? Two things are possible. You could have said, oh, she rude as hell. Or wow, maybe she's having a bad day. Do we see how that leaves an opportunity to have a completely different belief system? Do you? Y'all quiet as hell. And I don't like quiet, that makes me nervous. Yeah. Do y'all understand how that creates a bed of having two very different belief systems? We can choose to look at the world through, oh, she nasty. Or we can choose to look at the world through the scope of, wow, she's having a bad day. Hope you feel better, sis. But in order to do that, you have to have already started to do the work of resolving your own trauma within yourself. In order to resolve your trauma, the first thing that you have to do is number one, what? Well, I already said it, I put it out there for you. You have to know that it's there. You have to know that it's there. So that means that when you get into this path of spirituality, the first thing that you need to do is identify your core belief system. What is possible? Why do I think that certain things are not possible? What was I taught? Does that work for me? So one of the ways that people do that is through affirmations, right? So now we get to see where our belief systems are. Because affirmations do not work if you don't believe them. Why? Because light travels 6 million times faster than sound. Come on, Orisha people, what is light? We're getting close. What is light? What does light represent? Especially y'all Omo Obatalas. Consciousness. Light is consciousness. What is sound? Yep. Sound is vibration. Sound is intent, right? So now, light or consciousness travels 6 million times faster than anything that you're going to say. So what does that mean? That means that your words don't mean shit if you don't believe it. Nothing. Why? Because think of it as a ball. The light is the consciousness and it's throwing the ball. The sound is the intent. is going to smack it out of there. Because your lights and your voice have to align. You cannot reach your destiny or align to your purpose if you don't know what it is, and most importantly, if you don't think it's possible. Right? Light travels 6 million times faster than sound. So you can say, I'm beautiful, or I'm a money magnet. That's the one people love. I'm a money magnet. Money is attracted to me. And then they wonder why I'm still broke. You don't believe it. You don't believe it. And because you don't believe it, everybody loves the word manifest. You cannot manifest what you have not created, period. You cannot manifest what you have not created. To create means to make existence of something that has not been made before. To make existence of. Manifest only means to show evidence of. You cannot show evidence of what you haven't done. You need me to repeat it?
Yeah.
You cannot show evidence of what you haven't already created or what you haven't put into existence. Okay? You cannot manifest what you haven't created. The manifestation trend is bullshit. The creation trend is where we need to be. Understood? Okay, meaning, you can say, I'm getting apples, I'm growing apples. Have you planted the seed? So then how the hell are you getting apples? You can show evidence of somebody else's apples, but if you haven't planted the seed, you're not getting apples. You're still not getting apples if you don't get in the car and go to the store to get them. Right? That would be creating. Putting action to bring something into the world within for you, right? That has not existed before. Manifest is to simply show evidence of what has been created. Do we understand the difference? Okay. So then how do we create? Businesses is one. How do we create them? How do you create that business?
Relationships.
That's another way. Even before you get there. What do you need to do that?
A vision, game plan.
Plan.
So now I got a vision. I got a business?
Nope. Effort, time, patience.
You said it. Go back.
Effort.
Yes. Action. Action. We all want to heal, and we all want to be aligned to our purpose, but the main thing that we forget to do is that it takes work. It takes work. Even when you say, I want to open the business, I challenge you to ask yourself why. What is it that you're hoping to get out of it? One of the pieces that people miss about ancestral worship is that if you're looking for your purpose, look at what your ancestors already did. What did they do? What did they already do? Your purpose is going to align to whoever and whatever you are already birthed from. Why? Because you chose to come here through that bloodline, because that bloodline had the tools that you already needed. Now, am I missing y'all? Y'all not getting it? You need me to repeat that again? Good. Okay. We inherit through certain bloodlines because those bloodlines have the tools that we need. Y'all get it? So if you're looking for what your purpose is, you will typically find it along your bloodline already. That is why we do ancestor veneration. Yeah, there are relatives, that's what's up. But we do certain things because we need them to provide us with the wisdom and the tools that we need for this lifetime. Why do y'all worship your ancestors? That's not why y'all do it? That's why I do it. That's why you do it? Because then we don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? You can use those tools to break generational curses, right? Because typically what we're doing is continuing the work. My grandmother is a nurse. Her mother owned multiple businesses and housing for like people that couldn't get housing any other way. Her mother was a nurse and a domestic. Her mother was a nurse and a domestic. Her mother was a nurse and a domestic, right? So what does that mean I have through my bloodline? Healers. I'm not trying to be no nurse. Like, oh no, I don't like blood. I don't like bodily, oh God, like none of that. That was her way of doing it, right? Why did my great-grandmother have a housing where you have the housing people, the rooming house, the boarding house? Because she liked to help people who otherwise would not have a place to live, right? So what does your mother do? What is her why? What did your grandmother do? What is her why? Y'all get it? What is your mama do for her? She cooks? Why?
I feel like it's like within her bloodline, like my mom is Mexican, so she likes to always provide for her family, I would say.
So that's the monetary, but why specifically cooking? What does feeding people do?
You?
What does your father do?
I say he provides. Well, you can say like you make sales.
And what do you do?
I make sales. I do a lot.
What about your grandparents? You know what their vocation was?
My grandpa, he was dealing with like mechanically, and my grandma, she was a doctor.
Deal with his hands?
Yes, both.
Both of them.
Like she did surgery and stuff too.
Kind of like, you know, like how you do with your hands and create art and stuff like that. So then what is your purpose?
To use my hands.
To do what?
I would say, I just say keep expanding and growing and to help others to chase my dream, but I don't want.
But why do you have so many different jobs or different lines of business? Because you want different lines of what? And your mom cooks because she wants to do what?
Have more income.
So what generational curse are you breaking?
Poverty, yeah.
Poverty. You're creating empires, yes? Perfect. And it sounds like your parents were doing the same in different ways, right? Because working with your hands is something that you inherited. I'm sure if we check back further back in your bloodline, you probably come from men that were all good with their hands.
Yeah, and that was crazy because I was talking to my grandpa. I was cutting his hair and he was like, man, I don't think you know, but my dad cut hair and his dad cut hair. And they had shops, cleaning shops and everything. And I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Are you a full-time entrepreneur?
Yeah.
Okay. And it sounds to me like both of your grandfathers were full-time entrepreneurs as well. So they like to have control of their time. You like to do what?
Have control of my time. Set my own time. Be able to do what I want to do, travel, everything.
I would say that you're in line with your purpose. Your purpose is to help, to create wisdom and income, and to work with your hands to heal the community, meanwhile teaching other people how to create and expand their own empires, yes? See, the thing about purpose and alignment to it and your destiny is that the vehicle can very well change. The vehicle can change. What I mean by the vehicle is the way that you get there. The why is the purpose, not necessarily what you do to achieve it. Understood?
Understood.
When I first started my journey, I was a dance teacher. Specifically West African dance. Specifically for children. All the time for black children. Right? What was it about dance that I enjoyed? It was them understanding that they can do it and the ability to teach their culture and their history through the vehicle of dance. It was also empowering them because anytime you teach a child something and they get it, you can see it in their face. They light up. And then they say, oh, then they start to explore what else they can do with that. I was 13 when I started that. Guess what my mom does? She's a dance teacher. Guess what my grandmother was? She also danced. Great grandmother. She danced as well. Dance, not stripping. Although if that's your thing, I'm here for the stripping still. All right, moving forward. Okay? Now, I finally decided, you know what, I'm tired of this. I started a clothing line, and I actually sold clothes. What was it about that? The vehicle of that was African clothes as well. Prints, fabrics, colors. This is back in the early 2000s when people weren't rocking that yet. Specifically, A-line cuts and more Western or more contemporary looks. What was the purpose of that? I wanted to empower and teach people their history and culture. I still wasn't intentional about, oh, I'm kind of doing the same thing, just in a different way. I just like to sew. I figured out I could sew. I liked it. Anything I'm almost shocked up to my course. If I'm doing it, I'm gonna sell it. That's kind of how I move. But that was the goal. Like, okay, I wanted black women and men to put on African clothes and be like, yes, and feel good. Because I remember growing up when all we really had was Babaluaye Awon. It was not popping. It was big. It wasn't sexy. It was nothing sexy about that to me. I used to hate it when we used to have to wear that. So when I got older, I wanted to create something that people felt empowered and good in and made them understand and want to be a part of their culture. Then I started doing the healing work. That was when I realized, okay, so I'm still kind of doing the same thing. So obviously my purpose is to empower and heal melanated people. Now I get it. So if you want to know what your purpose is, the closest thing that you're going to find to understanding it is checking your ancestral history, right? What does your mom do for a living?
She's a daycare owner.
Okay, why?
She like working with children.
What did her mother do?
She's a daycare owner.
Why?
She like working with children.
What did her mother do? If you say daycare owner, I'm about to fall out. Okay. Okay. So they all teach.
Yeah.
Okay. Father?
Electrical company.
Okay. So he's good with his hands. Okay, so you have teaching and good with your hands. So how does that segue to you? What do you do?
Well, I'm in college now.
For?
Mass communications.
Very good. To do what with?
I want to have my own radio and television company.
To do what with?
I don't know. I know, but I don't know how to do it.
Okay. Well, is it gonna showcase white people?
No.
Why, girl?
I mean, they work for me, but no, it's for people.
Why?
Because I feel like BET is not enough when that's the only thing broadcasting us as a culture.
Why?
Because it's not, we're not being shown enough.
Oh, representation. Does your mother work with melanated children?
Yes.
Why?
Well, all children, but
That's her focus.
yes.
Why?
Because she's working.
But why? You know, she wanted to go to the white and where she'll make more money. So why black children?
Because I guess that's what they need.
They need representation.
Right.
Black teachers, people taking care of them, teaching them. Did you make the connection yet? I say, very good. What you trying to study? You know I was gonna ask you why you did like this and that's your look. What? What'd you say, Dora? What you trying to do? Oh, beautiful. What did your mother do?
I don't have my number.
Barbara? Uh-huh.
She's a bookkeeper, but she likes to be with family, take care of her grandmother, or her mother.
And you like doing something the same?
I just think like people happy.
It should be on the card. Yes, sir. You know what you want to do? What?
I just like tapping into my entrepreneurship.
Okay. All right. So your focus is making money. Why?
Growing up as a kid, have a lot, so I just always had to try to go hard.
Okay. So your focus is birth generation versus poverty. Very good. What did your mother do? Your dad?
My dad, he was in prison most of my life.
He really?
He was in prison most of my life.
Okay. What was he trying to do?
Using drugs.
Using drugs or something?
Selling drugs.
So trying to do the same. So then you're gonna have to do it a different way. So do you see your purpose? Do you? What is it?
To purpose up, break that shit, so legit.
Utilizing your skills and talents that you've inherited in order to monetize that, in order to break the generational curse of generational poverty. Yeah? But doing it in a way that is legal and that can be passed down to the generations of the descendants that come after you. That's a big destiny. But if anybody in your bloodline is going to do it, it could be you, man. It should be you. Actually. Nothing, I'm accidentally reading it. Does everybody understand though? Does everybody understand now how healing aligns to purpose? How utilizing your spiritual tools will align you to your purpose? And why? Yeah? Okay. Let me look at my notes and make sure I didn't forget.